Okay, we'll continue with the program. Next is we will be going to Mr. Shreyas Joshi ji again. His wonderful presentation that we all were enjoying, and it has some remaining things to be covered. What are the Brahminic values and why is it important to live by these values in modern world? Part 2 will be introduced by Mr. Somnath ji.
For the first part, my father introduced Joshi, so this time I'll do it. So my name is Anirudh Sharma, and today Joshi is going to continue his speech regarding why Brahminic values are very important to continue to live in our life, to demonstrate these values in our lives. So I am excited to continue to hear his thoughts. Joshi explained everything in the first part of the speech with a very scientific background as well. He mentioned a lot of the values such as knowledge, self-control, purity, austerity, and one more, I'm very sorry, I can't remember it right now, but these 5 values were mentioned by Joshi, and he was mentioning how these values have been used throughout our time and how Brahmins have provide so many services to people as well, and again how things have been misinterpreted in certain ways today. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about that. So Joshi, please continue your speech right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Vita. I always enjoyed the conversations we had when I was at your place. Very insightful conversation. You had really good questions, so it was always fun to have that conversation. And a very nice summary of where we had left off. This is going to be a small 15-minute session, right? So we'll go through 2 things very quickly. As we were talking about Brahminical values, where we get the Brahminical values, to get them, we just first have to build a base, right? We need to form a base, just like rain falls everywhere. When it falls in the sea, that water goes waste, right? It has to recycle. But when it falls on the land, it still goes waste because the weeds grow. But when it falls on a cultivated land, then the crops grow. So for us also to understand and to get all the detachments and to understand Brahma, we have to cultivate ourselves. And the process to cultivate ourselves is to let go of all the attachments. How do we let go? By developing these qualities, by not being envious, kind to all living entities. Do not think of ourselves as a proprietor, friend to everyone, letting go of the false ego. Letting go of the false ego. Give me one sec, page up here. Right, so letting go of false ego, being equipoised, being tolerant, satisfied, self-controlled, determined, and having a fixed mind and intelligence, right? These are very important qualities, no matter what the context is, no matter what the age is. The age-old principles, that's also, these principles are coming from our scriptures. That's how these are called Sanatana Dharma. They are, our religion is called Sanatana Dharma because it's talking about the principles that are true eternally, irrespective of the time, place, and circumstances. And they're always beneficial. Every word in the scripture is always beneficial one way or the other. It just needs to be handled it correctly. So when we build that foundation, we are able to understand Brahma, either Nirguna Brahma or Saguna Brahma. When we understand, then we develop certain qualities, more qualities, right? That's the outcome of knowing Brahma, is to na rishyati, na dveshati, na shochati, na kankshati, or as Narada Muni would say, na shochati, na kankshati, na dveshati, na ramate, nirutsahi bhavate in Narada Bhakti Sutra. So these Brahminical qualities, when we develop, it makes us very objective, which is very important quality, especially in the age of knowledge that we live in today, correct? Because once we are objective, we can see the things the way they are, right? And then we can guide the people in the right way, rather than guiding them with our emotions. So these are very important qualities, even in today's day and age. Once we have these qualities, then the value system comes into picture. We are able to enforce this value system on us, as well as we are able to provide this kind of value system to the rest of the society by being peaceful, self-controlled, austere, having purity of heart, inside and outside purity, clarity, right? Clarity of thoughts, right? Tolerance, honesty, wisdom, and knowledge, religiousness, righteousness. Righteousness is an outcome of having these qualities. It's not quality by itself, right? Once you have this quality, everything else, all the good things follow automatically, correct? So this is what we went through some of these qualities in the previous presentation: knowledge, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity. We will continue with the rest of the qualities. One of the most important qualities, and that is missing in today's society, is the honesty, right? People are not honest to themselves. Forget about being honest to others, right? They think that if I can just twist this, I can just act like this, I'll be considered a great person. If I just make this show, then I would be considered a great philanthropist, for example. In their heart, they know who they are, right? Our heart tells us, irrespective of everything else. So honesty for ourselves, for the introspection, and honesty for the extrospection. It should be spection. So the introspection and the extrospection honesty is quite important, because that honest introspection leads to self-improvement. Honest extrospection leads to improvement in the society. Honesty is the key word there, right? One has to be very, very clear on that. It also leads to the trust and the closeness. So you see the trust is failing everywhere at all the levels in the society, within the family unit, as well as within the friend circle, as well as within the neighborhoods, no matter where you go. And that trust can be regained if the basic honesty is available in every individual that we deal with, right? We expect them to be honest, and we expect to reciprocate the same way. So it basically, with the honesty, there is a better outcome for all, whether even in the business scenario, if it is an honest business scenario, there is a reasonable profit taken. There is a profit taken, but reasonable profit taken. If there is some service taken from someone, there is a proper remuneration given to them. It's fair and equal for all. It's a fair and equitable distribution, right? The whole Western society is running around in circles, demanding A, then B, then C, then D, and goes back in a circle. If you see last 60 years of history, right, everything starting from the later part of the Second World War to the Korean War to Vietnam War to the women's liberation movement, and if we continue further down, how the society has gone, it's almost going back to the hippie days, the hippie era, where there is a peace movement, there is a total negation of some of the in-between family values that were getting generated. Families are breaking apart. The trust is not there in the society. Different parts of the societies are also finding it difficult to have faith on each other. So honesty in the today's world becomes very important quality. So it's one of the Brahminical qualities that we bring to the table, and we can explain how it should be done, right? Being honest also has its limitations, and our scriptures, especially say Mahabharata, has very specific examples that if by being honest and truthful, if somebody is going to get hurt, what do? It's a dilemma, right? Whether you say the truth or you don't say the truth, right? Those are the questions that our scriptures answer, right? And for us to understand and provide proper guidance, we have to be expert on those scriptures as well. We have to have read through those, right? Because there is no replacement. It's not like we are not the collectors. We are not the hunter or gatherers collectors. You tell me something, and I'll collect all this information and present it. It is something that has to be internalized. We have to read it, understand it, imbibe it, make it part of our life, and then these things come naturally. And this is something that we have to teach to the society as well, how to do it, because every person of the society has to understand how to do this. It's not just that Brahmins have to do it and everybody else can sit on the sideline. Everyone has to learn how to do this, and that's our job to teach them, right? Next comes the wisdom. Wisdom is typically what I call the ripe fruit of knowledge, right? And what is knowledge? Knowledge is coming from the information that is coming from the data, which is basically Google is getting a lot of it. And now Microsoft is going to get a lot of it also, right? From that data comes the AI, which is coming from the open AI right now, the insights. But that insights, we'll see in the next slide, how those insights are a little bit troublesome, right? So we'll take a quick look at that as well. But that insights, when we imbibe it, when we internalize it, we make it part of ourselves as a second nature, then there is wisdom, right? Wisdom doesn't come from just reading the books. It's coming from getting something inside us and making it part of us, making it part of our day-to-day life. And that wisdom basically leads to the answers that Shakespeare asked, 800 years ago, to be or not to be. When to do something, when not to do something, when to say something, when not to say something, right? All those questions, the dichotomy of those questions get answered because you have now wisdom to decide correctly. Similarly, the religiousness, right? Most of the Europe is going away from the religiousness, religious beliefs. USA, most of the religions are in decline. There is only one religion that is making progress in the world. Anyone has a thought on which religion is that? Yes, yes, Pathakji. Sana. Sanatana Dharma, yes, I could read your lips there. Sanatana Dharma. The Rath Yatra is spreading in every town and villages. There are temples being built everywhere, right? The king and queens of London are coming to the temples. The temple is being built in the heartland of Islam as well. It's one religion that is making progress. It is one religion that is creating a buzz, and the credit goes to the people, ancestors of the people who are sitting in this room, in this meeting. Our ancestors made it possible. It would have been impossible if we did not have a way to protect and protect the loss of knowledge, right? We created this federated system where everyone memorized the verses, and the verses were immutable, that one person cannot change it here and there and make its own interpretation. And then we had this Brahmin Sabha that would reconcile all these things year after year on a regular basis across the nation when the transportation was tough, right? The credit goes to those people who stood by on their commitment in spite of being butchered on a daily basis, right? There were kings in India for hundreds of years who would not take their lunch or dinner if they don't see a head of one of our ancestors cut. And from that, our ancestors have passed and they have sustained the knowledge all these years. And now it's our duty in the age of knowledge to bring it back, bring it out in a way that it is supposed to be, and at the same time apply it to the modern context, right? So that's the wisdom, and that's the religiousness, right? What religiousness brings, right? What it brings to the on the table, right? It brings the charitra, right? Remember, Gyani Jail Singh, he had written a poem, Mera kho gaya hai mitra jiska naam hai charitra. So this is what religiousness brings to the table. Because why it brings this to the table? Because it has value system. It provides a structure. It provides social support system as well for the people who are in need. Those who are in spiritual needs, as well as financial needs, as well as material needs anywhere. It provides that system. It provides positive leaders for the all followers, right? We have seen when the leaders are not positive, as Vibhuti-ji were saying, when the leadership is not positive, what happens? People strap an explosive device to themselves and they blow themselves up. And they find that is okay to do, right? That is what is the reason? It's the reason, the core root cause is the poor leadership, right? It keeps people together, right? Religious gatherings, regular gatherings, the festivals that we have, like our Sanatana Dharma is a dharma of festival. Every month there is new festival, right? One way or the other. And each festival is a celebration. There is not a single festival that we celebrate or we gather where we are mourning something. Everything is a festival. Everything is a celebration. Every celebration is a celebration of a past success that we remember. And that each success is attributed to a deity or an individual who actually made it possible for the betterment of humanity. It is not for the betterment of self, but it was betterment of humanity. And that is something that our religion, our Sanatana Dharma brings to the table. And that is what we need to propagate along with this additional value system that it brings, right? It also, so, you know, obviously my spell check is not working when I'm typing it here, but the framework for the arbitration and conflict resolution is something that religions provide to the general public, right? Most of these things were handled by Brahmins. You know, if you remember the previous slide where I listed literally, you know, 35, 40 different professions where Brahmins were in. These were not even the professions or occupations where the remuneration was sought back. Those were free services that we were providing. Tolerance is the next item that comes into picture where we have differing opinion, and there is a word that I learned very early in my childhood, thanks to a Gujarati author called Matantara Kshama. There is a Matantara is difference of opinion, and Kshama is, you know, I forgive the difference of opinion. You have right to maintain your opinion. I have right to maintain my opinion. Right, and still we can both be friends, we can be together. It's okay to have difference of opinions. That is the tolerance. If this Vibhutiji were mentioning in the beginning, you know, where is that tolerance? Right? That tolerance is missing today, and we can bring that. That is one of the Brahminical qualities that we bring it back today. Similarly, tolerance towards other paths and panthas, right? Other origins, people of different origins, right? There's one question that always comes, tolerance to what extent, right? You avoid conflict, but for how long you avoid conflict by being tolerant? There are specific examples that are given in our Vedas and Puranas that tells you what are the implications of extreme tolerance, to what extent a tolerance is correct, and you know they provide certain standards and guidelines. Right? Shishupala is one example. What Krishna did, right? That's one example for Shishupala. Similarly, there are other examples also given in Mahabharata and other places. 75 years of wait time, 75 years of tolerance. It still led to a major war, right? So whether that tolerance, and that is what Krishna tried to explain in Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes, 700 verses, that tolerance with the wrong kind of people is not always worth it. Right. What is right and what is wrong? How do you define it? It's not your opinion, my opinion, or somebody else's opinion. It is something that is defined by dharma. And what is dharma? Dharma is something that is an eternal truth. And why it is eternal truth? Because dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. It is coming straight from the creator. Right. And so our Vedas were created before the material world was created. God was kind enough that if he was going to put souls in the material world, then he first created the knowledge of Veda. The Vedas basically guide the souls back to the creator, back to God, back to Godhead. He created that knowledge first, then he created the universe, then he seeded the universe with that knowledge, with the first soul that was Brahma that entered the universe. And then the rest of the souls were seeded into the material world, right? And so it's the blessings from the creator that we carry in our heads, right? In our heads, based on our parampara, family values. So these are all the qualities that we have. Any questions we can talk about, just send me in the chat, you know, I'll respond back, or just reach out to me personally, that is fine. That primarily concludes the initial, the committed portion of our discussion today. A couple of things that came up to light when I was doing some research for this presentation. One is OpenAI, right? I tried asking ChatGPT, well, you tell me, you write an article for me. What are the traditional Brahminical values if our society lived by, then the whole world will be a better place to live. And OpenAI thinks that, well, you are asking me a question that promotes discrimination, prejudice, intolerance towards other groups and people, because you're talking about Brahminical values. So you can see what OpenAI has learned. Right? It has learned from the existing knowledge base, which also tells that if OpenAI is biased, then our existing knowledge base that's available outside on the internet is also extremely biased, right? The moment the word Brahminical values come, the very next response is discrimination, prejudice, intolerance towards other people. So keep that in mind. This is something that we have to fix as we lead the society one way or the other. We'll have to figure out how. additional biases. So I know how to make things out of OpenAI. So I changed the question and rephrased it, walked it through different series of questions. And it came from what? It came to what? Brahminical values are based on ancient religious tradition of Brahminism, as if Brahminism is different than the Sanatana Dharma, which emerged from the Vedic religion, as if it's a different branch compared to the rest of the Sanatana Dharma, right? It's a shame that AI learned this, because that is what is there in the existing knowledge base on the internet everywhere we go, right? We find good things because we seek out, like bees, we seek out good things on the internet and we feel happy. But the internet is flooded with this kind of nonsensical information. Otherwise, AI would not have learned it. It's very simple. Brahminicism emphasized what? The status of priest or Brahman or priestly class as a speculation about Brahman. So it's not the fact. It's nothing to do with anything else that is stated in our scriptures. It is just a speculation of somebody sitting in some corner and came up with some nonsense, is what AI thinks as what Brahminism is. AI thinks somebody designated the Brahmins and accorded the highest status to them, rather than what our scripture says, that anyone can be a Brahmin. Vedavyasa, who was son of a Machimar, became the topmost Brahmin. He documented all the scriptures, and we all follow that. But that is missing. That information is missing from OpenAI, right? And the traditional occupation of Brahmins, right? Occupation is against the remuneration. We did not take remuneration. It's not the occupation. It is not the occupation, right? It's our duty that we were performing. We committed to a duty, and that's what we were performing. And without the biases, there is some bias, but I made it walk through a series of questions to take out all the biases, and then it came up with, well, you're right, Brahmin is signified, signified someone who is good and virtuous, and wisdom, detachment, compassion, purity, devotion. Now it's going back to our true value system, but it's after so much of biases. So keep that right. Keep that in mind, and something that we should figure out how to fix it as we move forward. There are a couple of things that were talked about for the children. So I would let people read this, especially how to engage children. This was part of my talk in the Michigan Samaj also. Our scriptures, our Vedas and Puranas and Upanishads, they are full of, there are about possibly 10,000 plus stories there. Each one talking about the chivalry, the moral values, the ethics, the value systems, the sacrifices, the good governance, the aliens, the multidimensional universes, the magic, the curses and the counter curses, galaxies, galactic battles, love and romance, betrayal and its consequences. It's full of these plus probably 100 other topics of wisdom. If the children are not not reading those stories, then they are missing something, and we are missing something. And last slide is, if any of the kids here, if they have not heard the stories from the Ved Purana and Upanishad, imagine the Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings, the Matrix, and Star Wars coming together at one place. That is what our 108 Upanishads, 18 Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata holds. Each of those stories, you will make a direct connection with everything that you've seen in these movies. The scenes as they unfold, you will see direct connections there. Close your eyes and hear a Vedic story from a parent or a grandparent, and you will witness under your closed eyelids what would be simply amazing, better than anything that Disney or Pixar can ever create. You just use your imagination, close your eyes, and listen to the stories coming straight from our scriptures. And with that, I will end this presentation here. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a great series of presentations, and I really appreciate BSNA for organizing this. I'm a fan for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sureshji. This is really a great lecture.
Thank you so much, Shreyas. And I totally, the last statement you made, my daughter is an animator, and she always says that there is so much lacking in the industry of animation. We have so many cool stories, and the same thing what you said, that Harry Potter or any of the Disney movies, our stories can beat any of those. Yep. Great information. We will